My children were only 3 and 6 years old, and they weren't a part of the decision-making process when I went no contact with my mother, which, by the way, I was 22, 23 years old. I didn't know it would stick for the whole rest of my life. I didn't know what I was doing was permanent. What I was doing at the time was making sure that my children were only exposed to healthy, loving relationships, and my mother didn't fall into that category. That being said, I wouldn't have cared how old they were. There is no way that I would have ever laid that at their feet or on top of their shoulders. I don't think that children have the capacity to determine who is healthy and who isn't healthy. They, my daughter, for example, loved my mother. And while she recognized that there were things, even at 6 years old, that my mother wasn't quite right about, she couldn't determine what that would look like in her life or our lives, right? And so, because children don't have the brain maturity and the life experience, and we're the ones who are supposed to protect them, making them a part of that decision process, I think, is inappropriate. I think that they would carry some guilt for that they should not be carrying. And so, as parents, it's our job to protect them and alleviate them from any of those adult responsibilities. That being said, my daughter had a relationship with my mother when she was an adult, and quite a young adult, as a matter of fact. And I just asked her not to share any part of my life with my mother and vice versa. That was the only boundary I had in place, and I let it be. I trusted that my daughter would figure it out on her own, and I would be there to support her, whatever decisions she made, because she's my daughter and I love her. And ultimately, she decided to go no contact with my mother, and it had zero to do with me. And I'm really, in terms of me guiding her decision or having a conversation with her, it had something to do with me in terms of my daughter saying to my mother, "You need to make things right." And my mother, of course, was not going to do that. And I'm really glad that I wasn't a part of that process, because that was allowing my daughter to stand on her own 2 feet, take responsibility for what's best for her in her life, and not have any, for lack of a better way to put it, blow back on me for being a part of that decision. Like, none of it is my fault kind of thing. And ultimately it worked out because we're all close and my mother is off the island where she belongs.